Hi, this is Don Debelak. You've reached video number 6 in our video series Going Forward, Starting to Sales. This video is called Creating a Beachhead. Now, what is a beachhead? This is a small sales market where you actually prove that your product can sell. It's very important to actually make a beachhead to get out there in the marketplace and really get your product going. Now, the thing that you're going to do in a beachhead is you're going to pick the best markets for you. You're going to pick the markets where you have a lot of support, maybe from industry insiders or others, and you're going to use every sales tactic you can to get that product up and running. Now, the beachhead has several purposes besides actually just getting your product going. Sometimes you really have unexpected things happen to you in the market. Sometimes the product has some quality problems. Sometimes you need changes. Sometimes your packaging needs adjustment. Sometimes you need some tweaking to get the product really going. Well, you don't want to put your product out in a big marketplace and find this out. And you don't want to put it out into a marketplace that's not favorable for you, so that if you do have problems, they're going to be kind of willing to let you make those product changes, get your product readjusted, and get it into the shelves and do it all over again. So you need contacts, you need people who like you need people who are favorable, you need a market that really wants your product for your beachhead, because it gives you a lot of advantages really to kind of fine tune your product so it's ready to go out. You want to try in your beachhead to match what your planned distribution channel is. For example, if you go on to QVC and your product sells well on QVC, well, other retailers aren't going to be that impressed by that, because QVC does demonstrations. They have people pitching your product and they really show how it works. Retailers are interested how your product looks on the shelves, how people see that product on the shelves, and how they can kind of grasp what the product does, why it's right for them. You also want the customer support should appear similar to your chosen distribution channel. Now, you're kind of fudging here a little bit, because, like, for instance, if you're doing a test in 20 Ace Hardware stores in your geographic area, and you're running around from store to store to doing demonstrations, you're training salespeople, you're offering extra incentives, that's really not the same customer support you're going to be able to offer everyone around the country. But nevertheless, it's not going to be seen necessarily that by retailers, and you really need to give that kind of intensive support in order to get the product successful. So what are some of the common tactics people use is when I talked about sales tactics to really get the product moving, to get a beachhead. Now, always remember the secret to inventor success is market momentum. You want to continually show momentum. That's what impresses people, that you're really making progress. You can't afford to have your product go into 3 stores and then wait a year and then try to do something else. You have to keep things going. So you want to put all your sales incentives in play. So consignment means you're going to put it into a store and you're not going to bill the customer until it sells. Guaranteed sales is really the same thing, that you're going to put it in the store. If it doesn't sell, you'll take it back and give it a full warranty. You'll pay a slotting allowance. This is what, so if you have a store, there's certain favorable spots in the store, especially up near the cash registers or people waiting in line. And sometimes stores ask you to give some money for that preferred slot, because you're going to sell more product there. Co-op advertising, this is where a store will send out a circular, and usually when you see a product advertised in that, the product manufacturer paid for half of that ad. Now, when you do a co-op advertising program, be sure you limit the total amount you'll pay. So you'll say, yes, I'll do a co-op advertising, but I'll pay up to $150. This way your product is going out, it's being seen by consumers, and maybe you have a discount on it. Sometimes you're going to do delayed billing. So normal billing is 30 days, which means when you ship it to a store, they pay you 30 days after they receive the product. But you might extend that terms to 60 or 90 days. You might throw in store demonstrations. You might set up your product and show people how it works when they come into the store and try to get them interested. And you can have an events. You can have a contest. You can have like 5 or 6 people come in and actually show how the product works. You can get local experts, all kinds of things like this that would actually generate interest in the store. You want to do as much as you can because what you're really trying to do is get a successful test. Now, networking contacts can really help you. If you look into a presentation 5 on networking, you already have a product. So you want to go to the section called You Already Have a Product and look at presentation 5, which is on networking. That'll give you a lot more background on how to network. But anyway, you want to utilize your help from contacts to get in the first outlet. So you have a local sales rep, a local retailer, local distributors, industry helpers. Work with them very hard to get into stores where maybe they have some influence. This will give you a little edge in case you run into a few problems and you need to make some readjustments. Those companies, these helpers will kind of smooth things out for you so that you can go back and get your product in again. Another thing is, I've talked in the past about going to trade shows, meeting companies with complementary products. These are products that are, so if you're selling a product for a woodworking hobbyist, you want to have contacts with other companies who have woodworking products. If you can get some of those companies to kind of support you and talk about maybe doing joint marketing programs, sometimes those companies you've dealt with can tell you some stores that they have good relationships with and give you some spots to actually get you into those stores or those sales outlets so that you have a chance to really establish your beachhead. These local helpers really help smooth things out. And they really go in and convince the retailer that he should trust you, he or she should trust you. Remember, there's a lot of trust in getting the product out. There's a lot of trust and credibility in producing that product. You want to rely on your industry insiders or your networking contacts to give you that credibility to help you get started. Now, there's some things that people do, and a lot of inventors go to events or fairs, or they're selling at sidewalk festivals, or they're going to little local trade shows that are really at their target market. Now, these are not a beachhead because they really don't simulate how the product will sell, but they're still a valuable tool, and you should still be doing this at the same time you're doing beachheads because it builds momentum, and it also gives you an opportunity to see issues that might arise where people are confused, people don't understand something, maybe people use the equipment wrong when you show it to them or use the product wrong. So you can correct the issues. Here you don't have to worry about going back to a new retailer and trying to get them to put your product back in there because you're the only one who's actually done it. So I think fairs give you a lot of feedback. One is on your important sales points. I mean, what points really resonate with people? You kind of make up your list and you come up with some ideas of how to sell the product, but you want to see how that plays with end users and consumers. And sometimes you meet helpful contacts at the shows. I mean, people will come around and actually be someone in the industry and they might talk to you. Some of the real advantages of events and issues like this is the costs to adjust are very small. You don't really lose out and damage a relationship that might be helpful later. You get to keep all the revenue. You really don't have low-cost manufacturing, but you can make just enough units to get by so you don't have a big bill that you're going to have to pay because you've introduced the product at a fair. It's good to control these costs so that you can see what you have to correct and go forward. I mean, prototype tooling, sometimes the products have a lot of hand finishing. Sometimes you're doing a lot of small little incremental steps to build the product, which ends up that your product really cost in individual price piece is high, but your overall cost to get that product into the fair is low. And you can also take a look at your booth and kind of see how other booths are doing and compare yourself. Is your product selling as well as other products? Are you selling better? Or are you selling worse? It gives you a much better idea how popular your product is. And then you can use that information maybe to go back and retool your product if necessary. And you can also try really small niche markets first. Again, it's not really a beachhead because they're too much of a niche product, but it's still valuable. For example, there was an inventor who came out with a force fin. Now, the force fins was a different type of swimming fin that kind of hinged, and it gave you a lot more force in the water. So he started selling his product at skin divers shops at coral reefs. Now, it's not really a beachhead because his real market was to go to general skin diver shops. And that would be more established of a beachhead. But it still showed market momentum. It still got him out in the market, and it was an extremely big benefit for those coral reef divers. So what happened was he had good success, and this inventor, it's called Force Fins is the name of the product. You can look them up in our inventor stories on One Stop just by putting Force Fins into the search term or just do an internet search. This fellow is still doing very well, and he really got started with just a small beachhead. The niche markets also generate revenue, which is still a positive to investors and your manufacturing partners, and you're really going into a market where you have your best chance of success. And a strong chance of success is what builds momentum that keeps you going and gets your product out into the marketplace. Another option you have is just to go into smaller outlets of the target market. For example, and this is a very good beachhead strategy, if you went into 20 Ace Hardware stores in the Twin Cities, that is a beachhead market. That's a store that is like other stores throughout the country. Stores will see you were successful there, saw how you sold there, and that really is a good beachhead. So it's similar to the nationwide stores, so that's what's important. And the sales tools in these 20 stores would be a very powerful sales to you for you later on when you're going to the target market to say, I was in sales at these hardware stores, the product sold well, we had this many sales per unit per month, and that's the kind of information they're going to be looking for. Another very positive about it, going to a target market, is you can really establish and defend your price point. What you're going to find is manufacturers in the market, they're always looking to cut your price. Oh, we need a lower price. We need a better price. If you can say that you're in a real beachhead market that's similar to how the nationwide market, and that you've been successful really in establishing that sales point, that is very powerful. Packaging effectiveness will be shown. That again, this is a very strong point for most retailers. They want to know that your package worked, that it sold well, that it got people to buy your product, they understood your product, you didn't get a lot of returns. So packaging effectiveness is a very strong point when you're trying to get out into the marketplace. Where your product should be displayed will be known. So basically, if you go into a store, you can find there might be 4 or 5 spots where your product could actually fit. Where are those spots? How well did they do them? It gives you a chance to test out these different spots, find out where your product really sells, and also you can also find out if you need some little sales displays that would really help your product sell. So if you try a few on-shelf displays or product displays or different ways to show your product, all that helps you know how the product should best be taken to the broader marketplace. Now, if you don't have a retail product, there are other types of products. They follow the very same rules. You want to go first after a small market that represents a larger market. You want to offer whatever incentives that you need to get that product going. If on-site and technical support are important, you want to go after markets where you have that. So if you have a bicycle, like an all-wheel mountain bike, you're going to want to go into bike shops. First of all, it attracts the high-end users who might be interested in an all-wheel mountain bike. Secondly, there's on-site people who actually understand the bikes, understand how to explain the bikes, and they can explain the technical support, and they can probably supply service support for your product as you get going in case you run into a few service problems with your first models. So again, pick a market. You're not going to want to go with an all-wheel mountain bike and sell it to a Target or Walmart first because they're not going to supply any on-site and technical support, and you really need that. So choose a market where you get that support that you really need. You want to choose prospects with a strong need for your product. These are the prospects that are most likely to buy. These are the ones who you really want to encourage to take a look at. Here's a little case study. Last year, what happened was I had a product that cleaned up oily water. So basically, industrial users, if they have some oily water, they can't put it down the drain. They've got to save it up, and then they've got to have it carted off as a hazardous waste. So that's a big expense. So I found a customer, a potential end user, who sold lubricating oil to machine shops. So they put the lubricating oil in, and all the time that a machine shop is running, it's also cooling the machine that's running, the CNC machine or whatever that's actually doing the work. And so they end up with oily water with oil in it. Now, this customer, what they did as an incentive to get their lubricating oil business, they took back all of the oily water, and they took it back for a rather modest cost. Since none of their competitors would do that, they had a big market edge. Now, their problem was they were paying 48 cents a gallon to cart off the dirty water. And since they were taking back about 1 million gallons per year, this was a huge expense. So what we came in and said, we could clean up their dirty, oily water, maybe not all of it, but we could get their amount they were hauling off to hazardous waste down at least 80 to 90%. The company was very interested in putting in the product and testing it for us and running the product and getting us a little beachhead success and some case studies that we could take out to other customers. Well, it turns out that we couldn't, of course, remove all of the water because we're concentrating the oily water into a higher and higher levels. But we could cut their 1 million gallons per year down to about 100,000 gallons a year that they were carting off. So basically, we were saving them over $400,000, and they were thrilled, and the product was a great success. So look for these markets where really you have prospects that have a very strong need for your product, and what you're going to find is you're going to have a lot more success in the market and establish that beachhead that's really going to get you going.